everyone, welcome back. So today I wanted to do a video and some swatches on the new Natasha Denona Star Palette. Now this was sent to me for PR and there's a lot of buzz going around about this eyeshadow palette because it is a very expensive palette, but Natasha Denona is more of a luxury brand, so I wanted to really swatch the palette and also give you my thoughts on some of the shades if I think that you can get away with having other palettes that do sort of the same trick or the same look. I'm sorry, I'm super distracted by someone weeding their yard. I mean, everyone's got to weed their yard, right? Okay, so why does it frustrate me? It doesn't. I'm just... what I gotta do right now. So anyway, I wanted to really just kind of go over the palette, show swatches and that kind of thing. I did use the palette today. Now I've been a fan of Natasha Denona for a long time. She has incredible eyeshadow formula. I personally have always been drawn more towards the super metallic shades that she has. I know this palette has some new formulas, I believe some new formulas of eyeshadows. It has 18 totally new shades from the collection. It has 4 innovative chroma crystal eyeshadows, 9 new creamy matte texture eyeshadows, which that is the thing that I'm most excited about because in the past I felt like the matte eyeshadows just aren't what I'm looking for if I'm going to pay that much money. It's really about her metallics in the past. With this palette, I've noticed that the mattes are creamy and perform really well, so that's important. It has 3 pressed pigment metallics and then 2 duochromes. So you're getting 18 new shades and they're beautiful. And then the box is just a white box like this, which it does give the texture of them, so it gives you a key on the back of the different textures, and then it also has the key on the back of the names of the eyeshadows, which I think is extremely helpful. However, who keeps a hold of their box? I personally like it when a palette has the names of the eyeshadows written on the palette, because something like this, which is what's included, which it has a what's the word, perforated edge. I don't know why I couldn't think of that as fast as I wanted, but you can rip that out because these are kind of annoying in a palette. So I wish that the names were honestly on the eyeshadows, but I know looking aesthetically it looks better to just have the eyeshadows the way they are like this. And that's just, probably what she was going for, more aesthetic pleasing to the eye without them written there. And then if you really need to know the names of them, you have this sheet. And I think the only real reason you might need to know the names of them is you're going to be purchasing eyeshadows eventually and you wanted to know if they were already in this palette. So it comes with a nice size mirror, and which I appreciate in a palette. The palette is this metallic palette. It's beautiful. It has the embossment of stars on it, and it just says Natasha Denona Star Palette. I really like the packaging. It is a nice size palette. Each eyeshadow is 2.5 grams, so it is a good amount of product that comes in the, in each pan, which I appreciate for the price. Now, on the sheet that I was given when this was sent to me, it didn't say the price, but I've kind of looked it up and heard the price is going to be $169. Now, that's a very mind-blowing price when you're talking about eyeshadows. I know some of the larger palettes that she's done are in the 200s, so I think that this is a jump down from it, from those big, I forget how many come in the other ones, 28 eyeshadows. This is the middle of the range. I have several 5-pan palettes. Those are $48 each or $45 each, but I thought those were kind of expensive for 5 eyeshadows, but they're such good quality, and like I said, I really love the metallics in them. I found it worth it. I guess it's just going to be about the formula of the eyeshadows and whether you, let's be real, a lot of people don't have $169 extra to spend on an eyeshadow palette. There are going to be people that do have that amount of money to spend on an eyeshadow palette, or that want to save up for that for an eyeshadow palette. So if you do have that money laying around, I want to tell you if I think that that is, or available to you to purchase a luxury eyeshadow palette, I want to let you know if I think this is worth it to purchase. Now this will be available October 28th and it's launching at Beautylish, Sephora, and NatashaDenona.com. So I love getting all of my products from Beautylish just because they have such quick shipping. But Sephora, it's nice now to have them at Sephora because you're able to, you know, earn your points and that kind of thing and exchange those for rewards and stuff. So, you know, and NatashaDenona.com, they typically do take a little bit of time to ship, so I just want to say that. I've ordered several things from them before. It does take a little bit of time to ship, so either way that you're going, depending on where you live, those are some options available for you to purchase this palette if you do choose to. So let's just start off. I'm going to zoom in the camera. I did use this eyeshadow palette on my eyes today, and I will talk about the colors that I used when we get to them. I'll just tell you what was on. I was going to include a mini tutorial in this video, but I just decided I'll just tell you what I'm wearing because I just basically I'm just a girl who likes to put on makeup. I'm not like a super creative person as far as my makeup goes, so I think my technique is basically the same that I use all the time, so I'm just going to tell you about it instead of having a mini tutorial for this particular video. So, okay, so like I said, there was a new matte formula. It says that it is a new innovative formula, a cream-like shadow in a powder form, has absolutely no fallout. Like I said, when I was swatching this palette and when I was applying it to my eyes, I noticed that the mattes were different than in the other 5 pan palettes that I do own. It said it has super strong color payoff due to outstandingly high percentage of pure pigments, extremely buildable and blendable, which I did find when I was using it, super soft texture like never before, all ingredients are the highest quality, they're talc free and paraben free, long lasting. And then the popular shades I said were the metallics and the duochromes, and there are new shades of those, so really exciting. So the way that the palette is set up, they're calling this the warm side and this the cool side. So you're having all warm shades, all cool shades. The way that the palette is set up so that these 3 shades create an eye look, these 3 shades create an eye look, these 3 shades create an eye look, this 3. Do you see what I'm saying? So every diagonal and every row is supposed to create a different eye look. So I think that's nice and fun when a palette is kind of set up. For those of us who can't creatively think of what colors are going to go together, that's kind of like a little cheat sheet for you. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in and we're going to go over some of the up close swatches of this palette. Okay, so we're going to start with the warm tones. This color right here, starting here, is Spectrum. Across the row is Earth, which is a creamy matte, and then we have Bellatrix, which is a metallic. So that's that first row right there. So this shade right here, Spectrum, I have all over my lid. And then this shade right here, which is Earth, I have a little bit to darken out my outer corners. And then this shade right here is Bellatrix, and that is one of the metallics, which is a really pretty peachy color. Those 3 right there. This applies beautifully. You can apply it both wet and dry. That's the beauty of these beautiful shades. There are those 3 right there. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the almost like antique gold of that first shade, Spectrum. The middle shade is extremely pigmented even though it is a matte, so I definitely can tell that there is that new matte formula. And then you have the classic, what she's known for, those metallic beautiful shades on the end. The middle row is starting over here, which is a creamy matte duochrome and then a creamy matte. This is Flesh, Orion, and then Gemma. There are those 3 right there. Flesh, which is a beautiful transition shade, Orion, and Gemma, which is a gorgeous matte, deep, but it almost has a little bit of that burgundy shade to it. I cannot wait to use this middle shade. That's not an uncommon color, but it's always a flashy color when it shows up in a palette. I think it's always like a color people are like, ooh, ah, but that's the duochrome right there. So there is, right here is, right here is Flesh, Orion, and Gemma. That duochrome is super pretty. You see how it looks one color and then it shifts. It's almost got like a purple backdrop to it or like a burgundy backdrop to it. The Gemma shade was a little bit patchy, I'll say. It's not as creamy as the other mattes that I just swatched, but you know, the true test is if it applies really nicely to the eyes. So I haven't particularly tried that exact shade yet, so I can't say, but like I said, I do notice a difference of these mattes, and it's saying with the innovative technology that they are more blendable. This last row is Atrina, Tatiana, and Cosmo. This row, so I can't wait to show you those. This shade and this shade appear very, very similar. These corners appear very, very similar, so I want to kind of swatch them next to each other after I show you this row and see how similar they are. So Atrina, Tatiana, and Cosmo. This Cosmo is a totally different texture eyeshadow than the one in that top corner. So at least it feels like it to me. It says that it's the same texture, but they feel differently. This one feels just a touch drier and more glittery. There we are. Oh, those metallic shades are so beautiful. I just love that peachy one with the matte brown shade. Like even just those two together would be beautiful. I wanted to swatch that top corner shade next to the other one. So these two right here are extremely similar in my opinion. Too similar for both of them to be included in the same palette. A shade. This one on the top is a little bit darker, but similar enough that I think they would probably appear the same on the eyes. This top shade right here is Galaxia, and then we have Vega, and then Diadem. I don't know if I'm pronouncing those right. Okay, here are these shades right here, and this Galaxia is very, very chunky glitter. It's a pressed glitter, so you'd really have to work with a nice base and kind of really press that in. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to work with just because it does have a lot of fallout, because it is so sort of chunky, so you're really going to have to work to press it in. Middle shade is a beautiful like flesh tone shade, and then this almost like cool gray color. The cool gray color all the way right here is what I do have in my crease today, and I mixed these two together. And then I had that first shade all over my lid that we swatched. This shade right here is going to be best used with, like I said, a mixing medium or some type of like spray, just to get it wet and a little bit more workable so that the chunks sort of lay down and you can really get that nice metallic feel. But these mattes are incredible. They blended really well on the eyes, and they are super pigmented. Okay, middle row on this cool side is starting over here is Electra, Supernova, and then Phoenix. This is Phoenix, Supernova, and Electra. I used Phoenix and Electra in my outer corner and inner corner today, just to deepen things up. This is a really, really pretty shade. It's almost like a satin formula. So I wanted to show these because this is the actual swatching of those that I dipped my finger in, and I wanted you to see that this shade right here, Phoenix, is not very pigmented. It's a very light wash, but it is buildable because I did use it in my crease. But it's a very, very light wash. The reason that I wanted to show it is because I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because you do have this deeper, darker shade which is more pigmented. If you're someone who's kind of toying around with playing with like reddish pink shades, they're really hard to work with usually, and they're very intimidating because you can kind of go crazy and then you think you're going to end up looking crazy. So I do like that this is a little bit more buildable, which lends itself to be easier to work with. So I found it easy to work with. I found it built really well on my eyes, but I did add these two together just to get this shade, use this shade to get the depth that I wanted. But that's me, and I'm used to working with these deeper, darker shades, and so I wasn't as nervous about kind of building it up. But like I said, sometimes when you're applying red shades, you apply the super pigmented ones, and then you have to blend extra hard to kind of get it to that buffed out look, where this one is going to already automatically give you that buffed out look to start with. this last row is Rhea, Addict, and Polaris. So Polaris, Addict, and Rhea. These all pair really nicely together, and that's how they're intended to be worn in a row. But I really like all those shades. This one is a little bit chunky, but again, it's a pressed pigment, so it's going to be one that you are going to use a mixing medium to kind of work with it a little bit. This shade right here is absolutely gorgeous when you press it in. Absolutely gorgeous. It has these like gold flecks in it. Oh, it's so pretty. This is a great transition color, and this is a beautiful all over the lid peachy color. I think I just see this like on a bride. It would be absolutely beautiful. So what are my final thoughts? I think that there's going to be some people that have the budget for a $169 eyeshadow palette, and in that case, I definitely think this is beautiful, and I think that the matte shades are now on that equal playing field with the metallics. You're really getting what you pay for as far as the quality of eyeshadows. So if you have the extra cash flow, I definitely would keep your eye out for this, or a huge Christmas gift. This would be an amazing gift to ask for. Super expensive, but an amazing gift to ask for if you do have it in your budget. Hopefully that answers some of y'all's questions. Would I personally, as a makeup lover, if this wasn't sent to me, would I purchase it? Probably not, just because I have so many eyeshadows in my collection. I already feel very content with the eyeshadows that I do have from Natasha Denona that I did spend a pretty penny on, and I personally don't feel like I would need $169 spent on an eyeshadow palette. And I already feel like I do have several different eyeshadows in my collection that I could use. So that's for me personally. I probably wouldn't spend the money. But now, if I didn't have any Natasha Denona eyeshadows at all, and I wanted to try the formula, I was extremely curious about it, yes. In that case, I would. But for me personally, I already have them, and so I feel like I'm content with those. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but if it had come and I had never tried Natasha Denona before, and you want to try Natasha Denona, you feel like you have it in your budget, this would be the time or the palette that I would recommend. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll try and leave as much information as possible in the information box. So if you are interested in this palette, you have all the information you need. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Mwah.